tuned into Quick Charge, the high voltage podcast bringing you the top stories in electric vehicles and sustainable energy daily. And it's all powered by electric. Welcome to Quick Charge. It's August 6, 2024, and I'm your host, Joe Boris. Starting off today with a little bit of Tesla news. Tesla is losing corporate sales over Elon Musk, quote, going against Tesla's mission. Tesla was originally founded on the mission of, quote, accelerating the advent of electric transport, which later evolved to, quote, the advent of sustainable energy. Since then, though, Elon Musk has sold tens of billions of dollars worth of Tesla stock to buy Twitter. He's fired Tesla's supercharger team, who built the best EV charging network in the world, killed off less expensive EV programs, fully endorsed a candidate for U.S. elections who's been actively working against Tesla's mission, and called for the end of EV incentives, which Tesla has historically benefited from greatly. Many former Tesla fans have stated that they don't plan to support the company any longer due to Musk's lack of support for the mission, and some analysts are trying to assess whether this is starting to have an impact on Tesla's sales. Now, a company in Germany has confirmed that it does have an impact on sales and has announced that it will stop buying Tesla vehicles for its fleet directly due to Elon Musk. Rossmann, one of the largest pharmacy chains in Europe, announced in a press release today, quote, Rossmann will not purchase any more Tesla vehicles for its fleet with immediate effect. This decision is based on the incompatibility between the statements of Tesla CEO Elon Musk and the values that Tesla represents with its products. Raoul Rossmann, spokesman for the company, commented, Elon Musk makes no secret of his support for Donald Trump. Trump has repeatedly described climate change as a hoax. This attitude is in stark contrast to Tesla's mission to contribute to environmental protection through the production of electric cars. Rossmann has purchased many Tesla vehicles as part of its fleet electrification initiatives and confirmed that it will keep those vehicles for, quote, sustainability and resource conservation reasons, but it will not purchase any more Tesla vehicles. Now, this is really important because I think it highlights a lot of things that people are seeing and saying about Elon Musk, especially in recent weeks. He's been tweeting about civil war being inevitable. He's been making a bunch of really bizarre and strange statements about U.S. politics. And you get the sense that there is something of a decline there, not necessarily a cognitive decline, but he's paying attention to stuff that matters less than the stuff that used to matter and the stuff that, frankly, made him all his money. Now, a lot of people have noticed this. That's why I thought it was funny when this user on X, TJ, the bunny hopper, responded to the question of where do you think Elon's downfall started? And TJ responded with, well, it started when he failed to worm his way into the Bay Area baby fur community in 2009. True story. Christy Olson responded, I just had to go through literally 30,000 photos of the most traumatic moments of my life, but it was worth it. Presented without commentary. Now, I don't know if this is real. I don't even know if that's Elon, but it sure looks like Elon Musk in a baby furry costume. Now, as of July 25th, when I last saw this and took this screen cap, this post had 50,000 likes and 5,400 people bookmarked it. It's probably higher now. I think it's hilarious. I'd love to hear your take about it in the comments. And honestly, if you think this is real, I'd love to hear that too, because I kind of put this under the, this is not real, this is fake, this is too far. But man, it's Elon. He could literally do anything and it wouldn't shock me. So if you've got some more Elon furry stories, please drop them in the comments. I am dying to hear them. Now, moving on to something that makes a little bit more sense and frankly is more newsworthy. Elon has killed a Tesla marketing program with Costco, saying he didn't approve it. Now, for most of its existence, Tesla has had limited marketing and advertising efforts as it relied primarily on not only its own customers, but websites like this one to promote its brand. That hasn't been enough recently. Tesla's deliveries have been down year over year for the last 2 quarters, and the automaker has been focusing on advertising and new marketing efforts to try and reverse the trend. One of those is a partnership with retail giant Costco. Unlike other Costco car programs, there were no discounts offered this time, but a new Tesla would offer a few perks to the first 50 people to buy a vehicle through Costco, including free supercharging miles, charging accessories, and more. However, the program was short-lived as CEO Elon Musk announced on X that he, quote, canned the program with Costco after it started to make the rounds on the social media platform. The CEO didn't explain why it was canceled other than he didn't approve it personally. Again, we're picking on Elon a little bit today. I'm sorry. It's just kind of how it is. It is very bizarre for a CEO of a major international automotive corporation to involve themselves with regional promotions like this. Jim Farley, CEO of Ford, may be vaguely aware of what they're doing for marketing in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or like, Tri Cities in Idaho and Washington State. But for the most part, that's not something that gets up to that level. Elon obviously is different. He's involved in the minutia, and I don't know if that's good or bad. I think for all the criticism that he doesn't pay enough attention to Tesla, this is the wrong kind of attention. But again, that's what the comments are for. Let us know if you agree or disagree. Now, if the featured image in that last article looked familiar, it's because it was the same image used a day and a half ago by Michelle Lewis when she wrote this article about how scorching heat affects your EV's range. We all know that heat, weather affect range, not only the range of electric vehicles, but the range of internal combustion vehicles as well. You don't get the same mileage or fuel economy that you do at 95 degrees as compared to like the 70 degrees that you generally get with an EPA tested range. Now, the article does a great job talking about why heat becomes a problem for EVs, when heat becomes a problem for EVs, and even some of the best ways to cool your EV. Looking into the comments are great too. This top comment here by Andrew reminds you to check your air filters and hoses regularly. Keeping those free of clogs and keeping the air flowing smoothly will require less energy from the electric motors to move that air effectively. These are all great tips and tricks to get the most out of your electric range during extreme heat, but it doesn't quite answer the question posed by the headline. And I wasn't satisfied with that. I wanted to know when I saw that headline, if I have a 300-mile rated EV, what is extreme heat going to do to my range? And the article doesn't answer that. However, someone that can answer that is my good friend, Matt Teske from Chargeway. Matt, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, dude. How you doing?
I'm all right. Hang on. I had the wrong microphone. Let me do that again.
Okay.
Does that sound any better?
That sounds way better. Yeah.
That's so embarrassing. All right.
No worries. No worries.
So we're not editing this. This is just how it goes. People need
Oh, okay. Fair enough. All right.
They need to know what lunatics we are. So we've got this Michelle Lewis article here talking about EVs and how scorching heat affects your EV's range. And the only thing I think was missing from this article was, if you click on it and you're thinking, oh, my EV has 300 miles of range, it's 95 degrees. What does that mean? Do I now have 200 miles of range? Do I have 150? Right. Do I have 450? I don't know how it affects my range. And the whole premise of this is, as I'm reading it, and I'm realizing what's missing is Chargeway, because Chargeway, which is your app, Matt, when you do your route planner, it actually asks you for the heat and speed that you're traveling, for the ambient temperature and the speed that you're traveling, and uses that to calculate what your real world range is. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is one of the most important things that is a factor of kind of, the learning the EV driving experience. I mean, and the same holds true for gas cars. It's just that people haven't been actively thinking about it for decades, because gas stations are just everywhere and they know where to find one. Even if it's hot or cold, they can figure it out. Well, they're having to navigate the same thing with electricity as fuel. And so they need to understand, what does that calculated range look like at a given moment, whether it's a long drive in the summertime when it's hot out, or for example, maybe a long drive in the wintertime when it's cold. Both things will affect you. So what we wanted to make sure we could do inside of Chargeway was give people a really simple way to understand what their expectations should be given those circumstances. And people can very easily say, oh, I'll look up the temperature. It's going to be 90 degrees today. Oh, and I normally set my cruise control at 75 miles an hour. So with that considered, we can show a Chargeway user in the Chargeway mobile app their maximum range based on those factors, based on what the EPA rated range is of the car.
And, it gives you the maximum range, but it's also important when you're doing a route plan or, doing a trip planning app, that the stops that it recommends change as well. Like, you're not just showing them all of the chargers on the route. You're saying these are the chargers that you should go to minimize your time effectively off the road, right?
Right, exactly. And it's based on the conditions you've set in the trip planner. So if you plan a trip at 90 degrees outside, ambient temperature at 75 miles an hour, and it's, let's say from Portland to Sacramento, it's going to show you suggested stops based on those factors. But then if you reroute that same exact trip with different ambient temperature and different speed, the suggested stops will look different because of the efficiencies of your vehicle. And then what stops should you make will then be altered based on what the most efficient route and stops would be.
Right. And you've got this for like all the major EVs, right? Like basically you got a Rivian, you got a Ford, whatever it is, it's going to be in there. What does that look like? Because we know obviously we've got hundreds of listeners that have Chargeway, but we've got hundreds of listeners who've never seen it before. So
Yeah.
let's say you've never seen the Chargeway app, you've never downloaded it, you're still using, PlugShare or one of the other horrible apps,
Mhm.
and we'll beep out their name. It'll be fine. And, and what does it look like? Do you have that? Can you pull that up and,
Yeah.
and share with everybody?
Yeah, I'll bring up this is a
Share
fun
with
little
the class, Matthew.
Yeah, share with the class. This is a fun web tool we have as a web version of the Chargeway software platform. It includes all the features of the Chargeway mobile app, such as vehicle info, station map, and trip planner, but some other features like rebates and fuel cost estimation that we use with some of our utility partners and dealer partners. But this is a cool example of what we're talking about. So let's say, for example, let's use a Rivian R1S, and let's go to the trip planner here. So the first thing you'll notice is it brings up where you want to start and where you want to stop. So as I mentioned earlier, like a route like maybe Portland, Oregon to, let's say, Sacramento. So it's gonna you add those little stops in just like you would on like any mapping system. But this is where it shows you, okay, what is your maximum range EPA based on the basics, which is usually a very gentle ambient temperature and driving very gently on the vehicle. But if we're talking about heat and if we're talking about speed, let's just say this day drive is going to be at 90 degrees. That max range is going to go from 325 miles to about 290. So that gives you a good sense of what you're going to see there. And this is taking into consideration things like, what accessories are you using to cool the car, things of that nature. But then also, if you're driving faster, that will also then directly impact your maximum driving range at 100% charge based on these conditions.
So we've gone from 70 degrees and 60 miles an hour, which is sort of close to what the EPA uses to generate its
Yeah.
max range, to real world 90 degrees, 75 miles an hour, 220 a month. That's a significant jump. And I think it's worth noting that if you're buying a vehicle thinking it has a 300-mile range, you're driving it in extreme heat, you're driving it significantly faster than that 60 mile an hour or 65 mile an hour baseline, you're never going to see that range. And I think that's something that doesn't often get communicated.
No, I think it's true. I think most of the automakers and most of the conversations we always hear about range of EVs is always just based on the EPA rated range. And people take information like that at face value. So we oftentimes will see newcomers to EVs on owner groups on social media. They will say things like, I thought this car was rated at 300 miles and I just drove to near empty and I started with 100. I only got 210. What's going on? But then in the photograph, you'll see that it says 91 degrees outside. And someone will say, how fast were you going? Like 80 or whatever. And they go, well, yeah, that's because there's no free lunch in physics.
Yeah. Well, and the same thing is true of internal combustion vehicles, right?
Yeah,
Whether it's
100%.
gas or diesel. If you're going 80 miles an hour and it's 110 degrees out, you're going to get crappier mileage than going 55, right?
You're using your accessories just like you would in your gas car. You're pumping the AC. Again, you're getting you're less fuel efficient because you're driving faster. So again, people haven't just actively thought about how efficient is my miles per gallon right now for years, because you just stop, get gas quick, and get back on the road, and gas is everywhere. It's highly marketed and it's visible, but you need to know how and where your charging will be based on these factors, based on knowing where you can stop and actually get a charge and complete your trip.
So what happens when you hit continue there? What does it takes me to next?
Yeah, so this is going to look at different route options. So there's this one that can go off the beaten path, or we could stick to I-5 that's highlighted. So we'll just use the selected route that was chosen for the outset. And then it's going to look at all the charging options between Portland and Sacramento and say, okay, based on the factors you've selected, here are the suggested stops, and then here are your estimated charging experiences at each of those locations. So you'll notice it's based on efficiencies. So it's the fewest stops, but it's going to put you at a higher powered station. So level 7 charging stops at each one. And then you'll notice it's going to give you your estimated arrival of percentage of range based on the factors of temp and speed, and then show your estimated charge time at each stop. And again, it's going to efficiently get you to about 80 or so percent to get you back on the road. So you can not actually, lose time by, charging up to 100 or something where it would take longer at a fast charger.
And I love this too, because you're showing them stop at 83%, stop at 80%. This is how we're going to do this. It's not a binary kind of way of thinking about things like we've trained ourselves to do with gas cars, where it's either on empty or full and there is no in between, right? So this is a very practical thing, and I think it looks really great. Can we do the same? Go ahead.
I was going to say really quick, the fun part is this is just your suggested stops on this particular route. If you click on the little route icon here, it'll show you all of the charging along that route. So that's the first question that comes up from a lot of folks is, oh, there's only 3 chargers on a route. No, that's where we've efficiently suggested you should stop to have the most efficient trip. But if you needed to stop at some of these other level 7 chargers in between, you totally could if you needed to for any reason. But the idea is that you don't have to know all that in advance. We do the thinking for you. So
Yeah, I love that. So, I want to bring this up because this is a CCS connector. So it's showing with the green port. If we were to switch this to a Tesla Model 3, which is the car that Michelle has in the article as her like
sure.
main vehicle, how does that change this? Because I know the kind of the secret sauce to Chargeway in the early days before all of this was built out was the colors and numbers, right?
Yep. So yeah, color coding the plug type, showing simple numbers for power. So you know what your powers, what power awaits you at a location, and then gives you the power number of what your maximum charging capability of each car and shows you the plug color of your car. So let's say we chose the Tesla Model 3 long range, and let's do the exact same trip. And I'm going to turn on all of the networks here so we can just, again, it's going to efficiently route you through Tesla superchargers because it's a Tesla vehicle. It's going to prioritize those first. So let's take that exact same trip, exact same settings, 90 degrees, 75 miles an hour.
242. Whoa,
So
that's
let's see
a lot lower.
yeah. So compared to the 3, whatever I think is EPA rated range, like 333. But
Yeah.
similarly, we're looking at about 3 stops. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a faster experience compared to like the Rivian sample we just did, but not by a ton.
Yeah.
But again, it's a smaller battery that also charges fast. But similarly here, again, we're looking at it's efficiently getting you from about 10 to 80%. And again, even here, it's like you only have to go to about 63% to arrive in Sacramento with 10% range left. And just like with the other route, you can click on the all route to show you all of the stations along that route. So
No, and I love this because I think the other thing worth looking at is when you start planning these out, you can actually use this as a shopping tool. If you're not quite sure what EV you want to buy, you can see what trips you make. If you want to, hey, we go to grandma's house every summer. Let's make sure that this EV has the charging. And if you see that one is going to get you there with an hour of charging, hey, that's great. 3 stops, an hour of charging over 10 hours. That's a workable thing. I'll stop, I'll get a burger, whatever it is. If you see all of a sudden that it's 3 or 4 hours, you've got a Nissan Leaf in there and you're charging at level 4 or something, or an older Chevy Bolt and it just doesn't have the juice, then maybe you buy something different.
No, that's the thing is depending on your use case of your vehicle. I mean, if you're going to road trip with any car, you want it to be able to be, effective for that. There are certain EVs that are better road tripping EVs. Those are the level 7 capable cars that are out there. This is a Tesla Model 3, maybe a Rivian, maybe a Kia EV6. Some vehicles that don't charge as fast as those, they are level 6 cars in Chargeway. So their maximum, capability for DC fast charging is 150, 170 kilowatt, maybe like an ID4 or a Mach-E. They're still perfectly capable for road tripping, but it will add a little bit more time to your trip.
Yeah. But then you get into again, the older EVs that are, to use Chargeway speak, they're level 4, level 5.
Correct. Yeah. For the fun of it, so for the fun of it, there is still in market. I'm just thinking of there's, a level 5 vehicle that's out there. That would be, the Kia Nero EV. So that the EV6 and the EV9 that are out, but the Kia Nero EV electric is a level 5 vehicle. So for the fun of it, let's turn on all networks for this vehicle. Same exact route, same exact trip, same exact settings as we would have done in a Rivian or a Tesla Model 3 long range. That's the max range for the Nero, but it also is a level 5 car, so it charges slower. Let's see what that's going to do for this trip plan. So similarly, it's going to look for all those stations between Portland and Sacramento as it would for any trip. And again, look at that. So that is now
3 hours charging.
3 hours charging, and it's about a 12-hour drive with this vehicle compared to maybe a Model 3 or compared to maybe a Rivian R1S. And so you'll notice that, the charging opportunities, again, 15% to 80%, that's a 50-minute charge in this level 5 vehicle. So that's the factor that's different when you're looking at the power capability of each car and then the power capability of the station you stop at. So
yeah, that's brutal. Well, Matt, this is awesome. I really appreciate you giving us a look at Chargeway and how it calculates the ways that heat and speed affect your road tripping. How do people follow along with what you're doing? How do people find out more about Chargeway? How do they get to experience this on their own so they can play with it from their own phone?
Yeah, definitely. So Chargeway is available on the app stores for both Apple and Google, so iOS and Android. And you can find us anywhere on social media. It's just Chargeway, no matter which platform, Instagram, Twitter. Can't call it X. It's Twitter,
It's
Facebook,
not
everything.
X.
I know
Stop.
it's Twitter. So find us with Chargeway there. And also, again, chargeway.net is our website. And if you do have the Chargeway app in your phone, click on the account screen. You can contact us at any time. If you have questions, just click the contact us button. It goes right to our team. And really, again, our hope and goal is to make sure that people who download the Chargeway app can have this really simple at their fingertips experience for understanding what their expectations can be for trip planning, especially when temperature is considered and how they know how to expect what their trip will be. So
Great stuff, Matt. Thanks so much. And yeah, I don't know. I'll edit that so I sound a lot better. Always fun to have Matt on the show. Always fun to have guests on the show. So if there's a dream guest, somebody from the industry, somebody from the EV space that you want to see on the show, drop that in the comments. I'll be sure to reach out to them and try to get them on the show. And one guest I'd really love to have on the show is someone from Mercedes-Benz who can talk us through Mercedes' new Level 4 autonomous driving technology, which just got a green light in China. In recent years, the German automaker has made considerable strides in autonomous driving technology called Drive Pilot. We've tested the level 3 version of Drive Pilot in the US. I got to experience it myself in Austin, and it is the only non-robotaxi company certified to offer the technology in the country. And it is really impressive. There are currently a number of limits on where and how Drive Pilot can be used in the US and Germany, but it is an impressive milestone nonetheless as Mercedes EVs take full control in certain driving situations, taking full responsibility for what happens when the technology is engaged. This is unlike level 2 autonomous driving or, quote, supervised full self-driving, where the driver is still at the helm, so to speak, regarding any mishaps or accidents that may occur. Drive Pilot was designed to deliver full self-driving, sorry, Tesla, but has not been approved for public road use. However, Shanghai is allowing Mercedes to begin testing its Level 4 system, setting the stage for another critical milestone as the automaker looks to regain some of the customers it's lost to advanced EVs from Chinese competitors like Neo and Xiaopeng. With regulatory approval around the corner, Mercedes joins competitors like GM, who have been testing self-driving Cadillacs in Shanghai since last year. Now, you know, I typically like to close out these shows with conversations about energy, conversations about solar. This one, unfortunately, is not great news. SunPower is filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and it's selling parts of its business to Complete Solaria for $45 million in cash. Now, despite filing for Chapter 11, which typically allows a company to restructure rather than liquidate, SunPower's situation looks a little more dire, a little more like a liquidation. In July, the company paused several key operations, including new product shipments and leasing and purchase agreements. The pause signaled growing difficulties within the company. SunPower plans to sell its remaining assets and has entered into a stalking horse agreement with Complete Solaria. The agreement involves selling its Blue Raven Solar and New Homes businesses, along with its non-installing dealer network. The term stalking horse refers to an initial bid on a bankrupt company's assets, setting a minimum price that other bidders have to exceed if they want to take it on. Tom Warner, executive chairman at SunPower, said, quote, "In light of the challenges SunPower has faced, the proposed transaction offers a significant opportunity for key parts of our business to continue our legacy under new ownership. We are working to secure long-term solutions for the remaining areas of our business while maintaining our focus on supporting valued employees, customers, dealers, builders, and partners." That's all we've got for today, August 6th, 2024. If you liked what you heard, be sure to like and subscribe. If you didn't, like and subscribe anyway so you don't miss new things to complain about tomorrow. Have a great day.